Creative Sydney was a 3-week festival of panel discussions and performance showcases that took place at the MCA and at the Roxy in Parramatta. And it was all about showcasing the great creative work that's produced in Sydney and giving a platform to the creative producers to actually talk about the issues that affect them when they're trying to initiate new projects in Sydney.
I set the agency up in 2001 as purely to work, to align my values with my work.
Basically, it is a series of one-off events themed around a different book each time, and we make sure that each party, or we try to make sure that each party really brings the book to life in some ways.
So recently I did that zine, which took so much time and a lot of money, partly financed by, I guess, K-Rug's, you know, $900 handout.
Everyone's talking about the financial crisis and the recession, but interestingly, every creative person I spoke to in the lead up to Creative Sydney saw it as an opportunity and as a time when the creative industries could really flourish in this city.
I know there are a lot of Creative Sydney naysayers, quite a few who I met and got into slightly rowdy fights with.
The protest was more generally against the Vivid Festival, which was perceived by some as an arts festival, whereas in fact it was an event put on by Events New South Wales and Tourism New South Wales, who really do have a completely different aim to an organisation like Arts New South Wales. So the issue was from sectors of the arts community about funding from Arts New South Wales, which really is an entirely separate issue.
I remember at 3 Minutes Sydney, one of the panellists, Nikki Quick, kind of took a little stab at the festival and said, no one's being paid to do this, and we all got asked, and 3 minutes is not a long time, and we all could have said no.
For us, it was actually beneficial to have some of that debate brought into Creative Sydney, because it did raise the issue about where does funding come from. Does the state have an obligation to fund the arts? What is the balance between private and public investment in creativity and art in New South Wales?
Really just a matter of finding the time to do it, because we both work and it is just a labour of love, so we've got to make sure that we put in that extra bit of effort. Can you think of any other problems?
The real estate issue alone is enough to cause projects to need to be commercial. Regulation doesn't help, and there's plenty of that, too much. So you have, things that would happen spontaneously just not happening.
A lot of people recognise just how important the connection is between city planning and building a creative city.
We did the Raise the Bar campaign in 2007, which changed small liquor licence laws in New South Wales, and in a 3-month campaign we were able to be a part of a larger thing, but certainly a significant part of the shift that occurred, and then the legislation was changed. So.
A lot of people just do stuff because they don't know the right way to do stuff. It's easier to put on a backyard show than to work out how do you hire a venue and how do you get council okay on this. It is easy to just go, I'm just going to throw one in my backyard.
Just hope to create an event that people would want to come to, be intrigued by, and if they come, they felt welcome at and stimulated by it, and then would come again or tell their friends about it. I don't think there was any real strategy. We've just always tried to make something that we would want to go to, something we genuinely think will be fun, not just like the cool bands or the hot book or whatever. It's just whatever we think is going to work.
Building an interesting and creative city where there are places to visit and interesting galleries, interesting performances going on, great filmmaking and theatre, all of those sorts of things actually contribute to the appeal of a city internationally.
It's actually about the cultural fabric of society. You see it in cities all over the world where people are able to congregate, have conversations, culture develops, ideas develop, networks form, and political, social awareness occurs, and you see eventually over time, you know, a different type of culture.
I think Sydney's always had a bit of an identity crisis when it comes to our creative culture and our creative industries.
And we don't seem to know how to talk about ourselves in any other way, like Sydney on its own terms. It's always versus Hollywood or versus Melbourne or versus something else.
You could sort of argue that, you know, we've had a little bit of a longer sleep here. Because there was a period where there was incredibly vibrant creative things happening in Sydney. You know, talked to people that were around in the 60s and 70s, and then it's sort of the commercial side of life kind of smothered it.
We had about 8,500 people attend our sessions over the 3 weeks, which was a lot more than we ever expected. So it was a great sign that people are passionate about creativity in Sydney, and they're curious about creative culture here and about the products that are produced here.
Especially, it's very easy if you're in a certain scene, you don't really come across architects, or maybe architects don't really come across guys who do street art, etc.
Going back to that idea that, yeah, the interactions between people are vitally important to developing a rich creative culture. I think talk fests are very important. I mean, in the end, there's a lot of siloing that goes on, and little networks and so forth occur. Within those, there's sharing, but quite often beyond that, there's a lack of awareness of what projects are happening.
We met a lot of really great people through it. I think it's raised our profile, definitely. Even just another person on the panel that I was on, we've spoken to her and we might collaborate on a party in the future, which would be really cool.
And there's no need to be concerned about the value of getting together and sharing stories and sharing lessons learned from campaigns, sharing successes, inspiring each other. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and yeah, if anything, we need more of that. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong. And certainly Sydney doesn't. Yeah, I think there's no fair criticism of Creative Sydney not filling a needed area.
And I think when a festival is about ideas, that's when it really has a lot of energy. It's not about authors selling books or filmmakers winning awards.
I mean, it's something that actually came up at Brian Eno's contribution to the festivals. He talked about the fact that you're unlikely to have a genius. What's more likely is that you have seniors. You have a collection of people who contribute to new thinking and new ideas. And that's what we've got in Sydney. We have to stimulate connections and communities and get people to work together to achieve goals, not just working individually as they always have.